flood market of Michigan.
Then you've really got three areas when looking at these maps, whether flood insurance is required or not. They look at these probabilities, and what I tell people is, look, if you're in a 100-year flood zone, it doesn't mean your property is not going to flood every year. It's strictly a probability every given year. Because I spoke at a local community in Georgia a few weeks ago, and we don't understand why we're in a 100-year flood zone. We flooded 3 times in the last 6 months, and it's strictly a probability. So you have a 100-year flood area. This is your special flood hazard area. Flood zone A's, those are 100 years. 500 years are going to be flood zone X, where banks are going to require it. You got a 20-year, and you actually have a lot of 20-year here in Michigan. And what this looks like is the history of flooding in an area. So if areas had a lot of flood problems the last 20 years, private flood insurance companies look at the 20-year flood score in that area to determine if they're even going to do business there. And so we get a lot of denials in certain parts, like Midland, Michigan, certain parts of Ohio, because of that 20-year history. These are some of the new flood maps that are going into place for Michigan this year. We've got one this week, we've got one in March, and we got one in April. So when this happens, what is this process? What do they look like? So when a new flood map comes into place, there's probably 1,000 of these done across the country every year. FEMA comes in, does a flood insurance study report. They want to do it every 5 to 10 years. That just doesn't happen. Unfortunately, they normally come in after a disaster. So for example, when Midland happened, they probably won't even come to an agreement on a new map until sometime next year. Because it's about a 5-year process. They come in, they do a flood insurance study report, they determine, all right, we should move these properties in, we should move these properties out. It takes them about 18 to 24 months to do that. Then they come back to the local community, and the local community either agrees or disagrees, says, no, we've done these certain efforts, we've dug out this river, this creek, we've rerouted here, we've put drainage systems in here. And so by the time they go back and forth, it's about 24 to 36 months. And so when they finally agree on it, you're approaching the 4-year mark in many situations. And then they do what's called a preliminary map. And they just leave this preliminary map up there for about a year. And what that does is lets them educate the public of, hey, this map's going in place 1 year from this date. And they spend that year getting community members involved, letting people know when it's changing and things like that. So